brothers and imams on the panel, mashallah, Sheikh Abdul Rahman, Sheikh Brother Maqsood, Dr. Diaz, mashallah, Jazakumullah khair, may Allah reward all of you. Brothers and sisters in Islam, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you with good in this life and the next for coming and being part of this gathering, mashallah. And I think the topic this evening is a very important topic, and I pray that, inshallah, I can do some justice to this topic. It is narrated on the Messenger alayhi salatu wasalam, أنه قال لا يؤمن أحدكم حتى أكون أحب إليه من والده والناس أجمعين أو كما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام. In this authentic narration, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is reported to have said that one of you will not believe. لا يؤمن أحدكم. And subhanallah, we find many ahadith of the Messenger alayhi salatu wasalam that they begin with this phrase, with this statement of the Messenger alayhi salatu wasalam, that the iman, it is many components, many aspects. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam informing us that that iman cannot be complete until we love him, that is, we love the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam more than we love our parents, our children, and all of the human beings, including ourselves. So first and foremost, in our hearts should be the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا أَشَدُّ حُبًّا لِلَّهِ. That those whom they believe, that they love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala more than they love anything else. And after that comes the love of the Messenger alayhi salatu wasalam. And as was alluded to, sometimes when we deal with certain situations, when we are reacting to those whom, for whatever reason, whether it is ignorance, whether it is fear, whether it is uncertainty, whether it is their own personal difficulty or hardship they may be having at any particular time, or whether it is outright enmity. Sometimes when people do things or say things as a result of this situation, then as Muslims we react. But we have to, inshallah ta'ala, work to make sure our reaction is in accordance with the reality of establishing and manifesting that love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and that love for the Messenger alayhi salatu wasalam. Indeed, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran, بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم, قل إن كنتم تحبون الله فاتبعوني يحببكم الله ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم والله غفور رحيم. In this ayah, of course, from Surah Ali Imran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala orders the Messenger alayhi salatu wasalam, قل, tell Ya Muhammad, say to them, إن كنتم تحبون الله. If it is that you love Allah, if you are making the claim that you love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, فَاتَّبِعُونِ, then you have to follow me. Follow who? Muhammad ibn Abdullah alayhi wasallam. And if you do so, yuhbibkum Allah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will love you, وَيَغْفِرْ لَكُمْ ذُنُوبِكُمْ, and forgive you your sins, that verily Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ghafurur rahim. So here we have, mashallah, a very clear statement from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is the onus for us to be able to assess the reality of our love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and our love of the Messenger alayhi salatu wasalam. Because if we truly love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then we have to follow the methodology, the practice, the example of the Messenger alayhi salatu wasalam. And when it comes to this topic of hate speech, and we're going to be a little bit inclusive when we talk about this, because there are a lot of things that are taking place, have taken place, and continue to take place, that we can broadly put them in that category. It may not just be speech, but speech is part of it. But it may manifest itself in other ways. It so happens that I am from Knoxville, Tennessee. And as you may know, that in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, that when the brothers and sisters in that community decided that they wanted to expand their facilities there, they were living there in that community, mashallah, the Muslims practicing there for 20 plus years. I had the opportunity to talk to the professor from Middle Tennessee State University, who was the chairman of the committee for building the new masjid. And when they decided that they want to expand and they found property and they were about to go forward with the construction, and in all good faith and with all the best intentions, they put a sign on the property, the future home of the Islamic Center of Murfreesboro. And then what happened when they come the next day or in a few days, they find painted on the sign, not welcome. And then some of the people, they went and they vandalized the construction equipment and they set it on fire. And from that point, we know that some of you may have seen, of course, how it came out, the publicity, and became in the media, and they went to court, and the lawyer there was arguing that Islam is not a religion. Subhanallah. We just heard, mashallah, about the history of the Shariah and, mashallah, the place of Islam in the development of the human society. And they were arguing that Islam is not a religion. Well, I'm sure the lawyer, who had a law degree, mashallah, that he was aware that this argument is ridiculous. But what caused a person to go against their rationale, to go against their intellect, just because they want to be against Islam and Muslims? Very recently in Houston, that when the brothers went for salah at the masjid, they found that someone had killed and mutilated a pig and put it on the door or the porch, on the doorstep in front of the door entering into the masjid. These types of things are clearly motivated by hate, or we can put them under that category, even though the motivation may be, and Allah knows best. But when we think about the prophetic response to that, this is where, mashallah, we have to truly make our foundation and our basis of how we're going to react to that. Because indeed, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has promised us. بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم أحسب الناس أن يتركوا أن يقولوا آمنا وهم لا يفتنون ولقد فتنا الذين من قبلهم فلا يعلمن الله الذين صدقوا ولا يعلمن الله الذين كذبوا ولا يعلمن الصادقين. In this ayah from Surah Al-Ankabut, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions that indeed, do the people think that they will be left to say that we believe and they shall not be tested? But we did indeed test those who came before, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to know those whom they are truthful. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to know those whom they are the liars. So the example that we look to is the example of the Messenger alayhi salatu wasalam. Why? Because we want to be true to our love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if we truly love Allah, then in everything we have to look at how and what was the methodology of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This beautiful human being, mashallah, this beautiful human being who lived amongst his people in Mecca for 40 years, whom, mashallah, he loved them and they loved him. Those whom, mashallah, when there was a dispute, as we know, who did they go to mediate the dispute? The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. When they needed to entrust their valuables to someone, who did they take them to? Muhammad ibn Abdullah alayhi salatu wasalam. And when he had any opportunity to help the poor or the traveler or the oppressed, the Prophet ﷺ never left any opportunity except that he did his best, alayhi salatu wasalam. And all of this before he received the first revelation from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then when he had that momentous experience in the cave, and he went back to his beloved wife Khadija, radiallahu anha, Umm al-Mu'mineen, and explained to her what he had experienced Well, how did she console him? What did she tell him? That this can never be something evil. Why? Because look at who you are, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That you help the poor, you feed the hungry, you comfort the wayfarer, you protect the oppressed. That, mashallah, your character is such that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has established and ordained until Yawm al-Qiyamah, وَإِنَّكَ لَعَلَى خُلُقٍ عَظِيمٍ, that he is on the most exalted level of character. But yet when he took up this message of La ilaha illallah, and we have to understand that above all else, that this is our message. That above all else, whatever we may feel personally, or whatever we may endure, or whatever may make us angry, we have to recognize and understand that above all else, we are carrying this responsibility of nubuwwah. We are not anbiya, alayhi salatu wasalam. Indeed, we are not prophets. We are not to that level of iman. We are not to that level of character. We are not at that level of wisdom and understanding. But yet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in his infinite mercy and wisdom has entrusted us with this responsibility. So when we react to these type of things, we have to do so with focus, mashallah. We have to do so with an understanding that we are carrying the responsibility of nubuwwah on our shoulders. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy for us and accept us. Ameen, ya Rabb. So let us look at the response of the Messenger alayhi salatu wasalam. Now he has the responsibility of going to his people and inviting them to this kalima, La ilaha illallah. قُلْ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهُ تُفْلِحُونَ. And we know that he is by and large, illa masha'Allah, rejected, even by his own family. One of the worst ridiculers and oppressors of the Messenger ﷺ, of course, his paternal uncle. And they even got together, that is the Quraysh, the mushrikeen of Mecca, and tried to think about how we're going to deter this message, how we're going to deter Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. They said that, what can we say about him? We can say about him that he is a liar. And then they said, well, no, let us not say he's a liar because we've always known him to tell the truth. Then they said, well, we can say about him that he is crazy, yani majnoon, or that he's possessed by jinn. And then they decided, well, no, perhaps that may not be the best argument because people know him. They know him for all of these years. So they got together, and what was their decision to say about him? Let us agree that we should say about him that he is some type of sorcerer, some type of magician. That when the people are coming and for the Hajj, because this is what they were concerned about, that it's going to get outside of Mecca now, that it's going to hurt their position and their livelihood. People are going to be coming for the pilgrimage. So how can they keep them away? How can they stop them from listening to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? That we would tell them that he is this magician, this sorcerer, that he causes enmity between father and son, between husband and wife, between brother and brother, sister and sister. Then they won't listen to him. So they made up lies to tell about the Messenger alayhi salatu wasalam. And when they saw that that was not working, then all the others that they rejected, they also started utilizing that. He's a liar. He's crazy. He's majnoon. And he's a sorcerer. But what was the reaction of the Messenger ﷺ? Did he use his precious time and energy trying to argue with them? Or trying to show, call them names, or make the people look bad at them, or disgrace them, or debase them? No, he used his time and energy to invite to this kalima, La ilaha illallah. Knowing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, ya'lam kulla shay, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows everything. Knowing that what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has called him for, and the responsibility, the job that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has chosen him for is more important than anything else. And always looking to himself that perhaps the reason that the people are not more forthcoming in accepting this deen is because of some shortcoming or some fault that I have, subhanallah, alayhi wa salatu wa salam. Look at what they did to him, brothers and sisters. On one occasion, at the urging of Abu Jahl, there was a she-camel that had aborted her fetus. And Abu Jahl, he said that go and get that aborted fetus of that camel and place it on the neck and the back of the Prophet ﷺ, who was sajid. And he is in prostration at the Kaaba. And when they did that, the Messenger of Allah ﷺ in sujood, and they come and they place that on his back and on his neck while he's in sujood, and the Prophet ﷺ, he remained in sujood, and they laughing. They're laughing at him. Then his beloved daughter Fatima radiallahu anha, she came and she removed it from the neck of the Messenger ﷺ. And she was so upset, radiallahu anha, about what they had done to her beloved father and the way they were ridiculing him and laughing at him. But what did the Prophet ﷺ say? Allahumma alayka bihim. Allahumma alayka bihim. Allahumma alayka bihim. Oh Allah, you deal with them. Oh Allah, I leave their situation in your hands. And all of them is mentioned in the hadith, collected by Imam Bukhari, that all of them, that they were found, that they were killed at the Battle of Badr. Subhanallah. So brothers and sisters, we have to keep an eye and focus on, mashallah, the job, the responsibility that we have here in the United States. You cannot imagine some of the things, mashallah, the brother, Sheikh Abdul Rahman, he mentioned about some of the laws that are being brought up in the state legislatures regarding the anti-Shariah bills, and they don't even know why. That the things that I have mentioned that people are doing. And you will find yourself, illa mashallah, in situation. It may not be the cartoons in the Netherlands, it may not be something sensational in the newspaper, but at some point, illa masha'Allah, you may have already, or you may very well find yourself in a personal situation that how you're going to react in that situation. How you're going to stand up and defend this deen of yours that you love so much. Defend your beloved Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam when someone slanders him. Personally, I can relate to you that one time at my workplace, and I used to work in construction, mashallah. I used to work as a carpenter in the construction industry. And one time I was working as a supervisor, and I was dealing with some situation with some of the workers, and I had to go into the office and speak to the superintendent. And when I went there, I found that he was there with another superintendent from another job had come over to visit. And remember when, alhamdulillah, this is Georgia, but we were in Tennessee, mashallah. And they were having a conversation. It seems as though one of them, his son, had been deployed to Iraq. And he had gotten some letter or something from his son, and he was upset about it, and he was talking to his friend. And they're both, of course, at that level, they are my superiors. And so the one was telling the other, they should line all those Muslims, they should get them all, and they should just kill them. They should drop a bomb on them. They should wipe them all out in one blow. Now, I could have turned and walked out and said, I'll come back later. I could have pretended as though I didn't hear it. But subhanAllah, what I came there for, it just left my mind. And I said to him, why would you say such a thing like that? Human beings living their lives with families, with parents, with children, with ideas, with goals, mashallah, with all the things that we have as human beings. Why would another human being wish that on a group of human beings? Based upon what? What do you know about Islam? What do you know about Muslims? Take some time and utilize the intellect that God has given you. Now, I could have said to him, you such and such redneck and blah, 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 but what effect is that going to have? Is that to say that he's another one of them, he needs to join them? But that we have to utilize what the ulama, mashallah, call hikmah. And they define hikmah, what do shafi mahali. The wisdom to put something in its proper place. And we have to recognize as individuals and as an ummah that when it comes to reacting to this type of hate, this type of ignorance, this type of enmity, then we have to put it in its proper place. The reaction that we give has to, inshallah, bring about a better situation, bi'idhnillah. That we don't cause ourselves or our families or our communities or the ummah in general to suffer even more hatred and fitna. And at the same time, we recognize, and what our brother had mentioned in the previous session regarding qawl al-haq, and the statement of truth in the face of the authority, that this is a high level and form of jihad. So, mashallah, tabarakallah, we have challenges here in the United States, no doubt about it. But you can understand that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promises that He is going to test us, that means He has given us the tools, the knowledge, the ways and means, the guidance to meet that test and to come through on the other side better for it. That we will be better in this dunya and in the akhir, and we make the society better bi'idhnillah, because our purpose, our calling is a higher purpose. It is the purpose of the Anbiya alayhi salatu wassalam. MashaAllah, we are living 1,400 years after Khatim al-Nubuwwah alayhi salatu wassalam, after the seal of the Prophet Muhammad ibn Abdullah alayhi salatu wassalam. And that Quran, that permanent miracle that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed through the agency of Jibreel alayhi salam to the Messenger alayhi salatu wasalam, remains the final and permanent miracle. That example, that personality, the countenance of the beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam remains the ultimate role model and example for those human beings. We are the ones that have to bring that reality to the people. And if they accept it, mashallah, and the hidayah min Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if they reject it, then they are the losers as long as we fulfill the prophetic responsibility in the best way. And we don't let our anger, we don't let our frustration, we don't let our own personal hurt or embarrassment get in front of fulfilling this responsibility that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed upon us. We need to help and support one another in that. That it may not be that everyone is going to be able to carry that on their own. That's why we have to recognize and understand what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us. بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. That verily by the time the human beings are in a state of loss, except for those whom they have iman, faith, and perform the righteous deeds, that we can do as individuals. Yani Allah knows what's in our hearts, and we have to make the effort to do the amal as-salih. But when it comes to responding to hate in whichever way it manifests itself, then we need to strengthen each other. That we come together and help and support one another in establishing the truth and in establishing patience and forbearance and steadfastness. ونسأل الله التوفيق والعافية. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم واستغفروه إن الله لغفور رحيم. جزاك الله خيرا وبارك الله فيكم.